The President of the region, the President of the Assembly, the Regional Assembly, dear Mayor of Quacos de Yuste, dear President of the network, new President of the network of the cultural route of Charles V, dear friends, dear brothers, dear fathers, dear sisters, dear colleagues. Encantada. That's about the only word that I can say in Spanish, but I think it says it all. Enchanté, delighted. I'm enchanté, I'm really delighted to be here today for many, many different reasons. First of all, I'm delighted to be invited to represent my organization, the 47-member Council of Europe, the oldest pan-European organization dealing with unity and peace and peaceful cohabitation in Europe. I'm delighted to represent the Cultural Roots Programme as the Executive Secretary of the 24-member state Enlarged Partial Agreement, of which Spain is an active member, and Pilar Barraca, who spoke to you earlier, is a member of the Governing Board and of the Bureau of the EPA. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the European Institute of Cultural Roots in Luxembourg, which I have the honor of directing. And finally, not quite finally, but almost finally, I'm delighted to be here to celebrate with you the certification of the Charles V Cultural Route Network. I've been working on this program for the last 4 years, so this route has been one of the projects that I saw begin, work, cooperate, communicate, develop until today, and it's still developing, it's still going. So it's one of the routes which I had the honor of advising, of assisting, and accompanying, and which meant that I was here 2 years ago to present the Cultural Roots Programme. Now I no longer have a need to present the Cultural Roots Programme to the members of the route, at least, because you all know very well what it represents. And the cultural roots in Spain, as Pilar also said, are very important and very present and very active. And it's nice to see members of some of the other cultural routes here today as well, especially the Rock Art Trail, for example, and others. So, and it's really nice to see as well, because that was one of the pieces of advice we gave to the route a couple of years ago, was to develop the relations with the other countries where Charles V heritage is very important. And it's great to see Italy here today represented, to see Portugal, and to see Belgium. So what is a Council of Europe Cultural Route? A Council of Europe Cultural Route is a route around a theme which illustrates European history and culture. It's a network which includes at least 3 countries. It's a network which has a scientific committee, which has a legal status, which organizes tourism products, which carries out research, and which involves young people. So in case anybody had any doubt about that, the Charles V route actually complies with all these criteria now. And the governing board, as Quintin said earlier, the governing board agreed with that in April unanimously to award the certification to the Charles V route. And the Institute was very glad about that. Why? Why all these criteria? Why does the Council of Europe support networks which illustrate European history and culture? Because Europe needs models. Europe needs positive models. Europe needs history in order to understand its present-day concerns, its present-day problems, and why we should be living together peacefully, and what relations we have between one another. I liked the expression, or at least the translation of the expression of the mayor earlier on, the visionary leader of a united Europe. This is what we see in Charles V, and this is what you, with your route, are illustrating. That war led to peace, that tensions were resolved, that violence and aggression led to an understanding, led to interaction, led to intercultural dialogue. On your route also, the proof today as well, is a great illustration also, or not an illustration, an implementation of what the Council of Europe believes in intercultural dialogue, including interfaith and interreligious dialogue. Why a legal status? Because the Council of Europe, we're kind of a group of bureaucrats, and we like paperwork and we like administration. No, that's not the real reason. The real reason is because we wish for our roots to function democratically and to be seen functioning democratically. We want all the members of the root to have their say in activities, to decide together what is the way forward for the root. And so a legal status is the way of ensuring that democratic functioning and participation of the members. Why research? Why a scientific committee? Because this history should not remain statically in history books and remain a question for an elite of academics. But this history should be constantly reinterpreted, constantly looked into, constantly questioned for its authenticity and its relevance to our lives today. Why activities for young people? Well, it seems kind of obvious, I suppose, but for the Council of Europe, of course, the youth, it's a bit of a cliche, but the youth is the society of tomorrow. And we need to transmit all this knowledge, all this history, all these stories to our young people. And we need to attract them to this history. We need to make them want, to make them like it, to make them communicate it between themselves. And that's why in the Institute and in the Council of Europe, we're working very much with social networking, with intelligent social networking, with the new methods of communicating and of traveling. Why tourism? That is a question that even our roots ask us sometimes. Why do we have to do tourism? The Council of Europe doesn't do tourism. But of course, if you don't have tourism, you can't communicate these stories. You can't, again, as the mayor said, you can't communicate how Charles V probably stood on his balcony and smelled the smell of the peppers of your region, tasted the migas, which is your staple diet of the people in the hills and the shepherds. And this is what today's tourism is. Today's tourism is experiencing the other, is meeting other people, is meeting other cultures, is confronting your images and your culture with other people's culture from the inside. So I hope I've sort of given you a bit of an idea of what a Council of Europe cultural route is. I hope I've given you the feeling that the Charles V cultural route corresponds to all of this. I hope that you'll continue and develop your activities as you are doing now. You have a wonderful place. It's a beautiful place. The other places of the route we've seen on the film, all beautiful places as well. Carry on communicating about this culture, about this heritage, and transmitting it to others and to our young people. I think that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Quintin, who's been our interlocutor over these past few years. Thank you, Miguel Angel, who's also been working with us from the foundation of Yuste. Thank you to all of you for organizing today. Thank you to Charles V and his entourage. Thank you very much for being here and for listening to me and for your patience.